Henri Rousseau was born into a middle class family and was raised in Laval, France on May 1844. Up till 1860, he attended school in Laval, and for a period he worked for a lawyer, and later on he joined the army. Even if he was in the army, he did not have to face combat. He worked as a tall collector in Paris, and further in life he taught himself to paint by painting in his spare time. He didn't have a formal art education, he taught himself how to paint. Rousseau began with his painting career late, and his first exhibition was set in 1886 and continued with his art exhibitions till the end of his life. In matters of art, Rousseau had highly personal style and characteristics in his paintings, and it can be associated with the fact that he didn't attend to any art school and neither did he have a teacher's supervision. His paintings consisted more of qualities of childish and naive aura. This because he had not learned anatomy or perspective of a drawing. The qualities such as using vivid colors, ambiguous space, non-realistic scale, and dramatic intensity made his paintings appear as a dreamlike one. At many times, he transformed what he had seen in museums, books, and magazines and had a tendency to convert these elements into his own personal vision. Rousseau's paintings were well known to consist of human figures or wild animals found in jungle inspired atmospheres. The conservatives' official art world of Paris did not understand or accept the artwork Rousseau had provided. Despite this, he still managed to set up his work in annual exhibitions that was organized by the Société des Artistes Indépendants. Rousseau, Rousseau retired from his previous job as a tall collector in 1893 when he was 49 years old. That same year, Rousseau met Alfred Jarry, who introduced Rousseau to members of the Parisian artistic and literary avant-garde. Members such as Pablo Picasso, Guillaume Apollinaire, Max Jacob, and Marie Laurencin all admired his art. Rousseau painted many of his paintings with a jungle inspired surrounding. Many of them contain outrageous imagery, which most famously is a nude woman located in a tropical jungle. He was celebrated by the surrealists that valued dreamlike characteristics of a painting. His work was valued by modernists like Pablo Picasso and the surrealists René Magritte and Max Ernst. He was an artist during the Belle Epoque, which is the period of Western history. It took place during the period of the French-German War from 1871 to the outbreak of World War I in 1914. This period was characterized by optimism, regional space, economic prosperity, and apex of colonial empires and technological, scientific, and cultural innovations. Art in Paris, France, flourished tremendously during this time. By visiting the museums and gardens of Paris and by reading a lot of books and magazines, Rousseau was exposed to the French colonial empire culture. France colon, colonized plenty of African countries, and the African culture and nature was now exposed to France. His inspiration from African culture and surroundings must have been a sort of escape from the existing France into a new imaginary existing world he had never seen before. Rousseau had never traveled outside of France, and his ideas were never expressed based on self experience. Rather, he gained his ideas from walking around in the art museums of Paris and by sketching in Paris botanical gardens and the Natural History Museum, as mentioned before. Also, his visual pictures and range of colors were gained from sources such as books, magazines, museums, Paris zoos, and gardens, which he later on converted to his own vision and ideas. The Snake Charmer, drawn in 1907, is one of his paintings that caught my attention and that I deeply adore. By generalizing the painting, we can spot a dark skinned naked woman playing on a flute, surrounded by wild animals such as snakes and a flamingo. She is found standing in a jungle. The animals in the painting are drawn to her and her charm under the night sky that is slightly lighted up by the moon that creates a more seductive sense to the painting. The moon also gives the viewer a glimpse of light to the extent where to some point we can see what's going on, and this contrast of light adds a mystical sense to the painting. Rousseau painted the painting based on experiences he heard about that came from the West Indies. The snake charmer is significant in its form due to its context. The subject, the surface visual meaning of the painting, it's basically a new form of presenting Eve in a disquieting Garden of Eden with charming snakes. The new perspectives are that Eve is dark skinned, and instead of the snake hypnotizing her, she is charming and attracting several snakes. She is also found in a jungle rather than a beautiful garden. It's a new twist that we've not seen before and which attracts tremendous of attention. All of the characters, the human figure, the vegetation, and the animals are characterized by the same painstaking care in his paintings. They're painted in a sense of naive style where he lacks correct proportions, paints with a one point perspective, and uses sharp and often unusual colors. Despite the fact that the objects in the painting are treated with the same features, simple brush strokes, they yet have different powers in their expression. What I admire about this painting is that even if it's simple, the woman expresses a lot of power though the through the gazing of the white eyes in contrast to her dark skin color. She's gazing into the viewer's eyes. Not only is she hypnotizing her surrounding, but the viewer as well. In a way, the womanly figure is representing the feminine power in relation to its nature that was common during the modernism. She's portrayed as a sexual object by standing and gazing into the viewer's eyes while being fully exposed. But at the same time, we see some power in the painting because the control is in her hand due to the hypnotization of the wild animals around her. And additionally, she looks confident in the way she carries herself, and her face expression do not express fear or uncomfortability. The painting is caught in a strange silence, creating an endless medium. The atmosphere looks calm and quiet, yet you can still hear a sense of playing flute, holding the world in trance, while the snakes and animals in the jungle move towards her. This gives an extra sense of power to the painting, despite the fact that it is painted with such simple features and a small range of colors. The sky is green and adds additional mystical, dreamlike, and a fantasy world because we're never used to see a green sky. It's a surrealism painting due to the dreamlike atmosphere and due to the existing endless medium. I believe that Rousseau is a significant artist due to the fact that he is painting with an amateurish quality. He never attended to an artistic school, and on top of that, he started with his painting at an old age. Yet, he is considered as one of the popular surrealist painters for his time and is resonated with modern artists such as Picasso. Despite these factors, his paintings has great values because they speak to the viewer from a new perspective. You glare at his paintings, and the first thing you see is stillness due to its simpleness. As you look at it a little bit longer, it creates senses of motion and emotion, and for an artist to do so is very impressive, in my opinion. Another similar painting is The Dream that he painted in 1910. It has the same exotic features to it as the snake charmer. A white woman sitting naked on a couch in the middle of the jungle, gazing at the wild animals. This painting is also very dreamlike as the moon in the upper right corner lights up the surroundings slightly so the viewer can see what is going on. But due to the viewer not being fully exposed with daylight, we have to dig in deeper to find details, such as the wild animals, the tigers, snake, elephant, and the bird. The choice of colors adds an extra touch of a fantasy world, yet in a reality setting. As in the snake charmer, the woman in the painting is naked and fully exposed to the viewer to see. The difference is that this painting is not as intensive, since we do not have any any contact with the womanly figure, such as eye contact, which we had with the woman in the snake charmer. Therefore, this painting is less intense in matters of emotional connection. However, it does mediate the feminine nature to a jungle nature environment. This painting is also simple as every other of his paintings, but yet it has a mystical story behind it, which makes the painting extremely interesting. Like, for instance, why is the woman laying naked on a couch in the middle of a jungle in front of wild animals? It also leads to the question, are the viewer a wild animal too? When digging deep into the picture, we can see that one of the lions look like a female and the other as a male. The naked woman is reaching out to the lions, and lions are usually a symbol of strength and protection. And as in the snake charmer, I could see a sign of strength too. The gaze of the male lion makes the viewer uncomfortable, and it wants to scare us away, as it wants to protect the woman, stating that the woman belongs in her natural state of nature, which is serving her purpose. And we can see the same trait in the snake charmer. The naked woman is somehow surrounded and protected by the snakes around her, by the snake around her neck and the snakes in her surrounding. I admire the fact that to be a successful artist, it doesn't mean that you have to have an artistic academic skill, and you don't have to practice art for decades to become a successful artist. Rousseau is the perfect example that states that art is more than technique. It's about telling a story, attracting attention, and adding a lot of emotions into a painting that the viewers can somehow emphasize to. It is so fascinating that such simple paintings can wake a lot of thoughts and imaginations within the viewer. However, a short period after the dream painting was done, Rousseau died in Paris, France in 1910 and left a huge influence on other artists that came after him. He was seen as an inspiration to the Parisian